to say hello because I broke my other glasses, which were multifocal. Anyway, so the way we do this is that for the course of the interview, that seat is locked, so we can actually get through the information that you're going to share. Throughout the process, people are invited to enter their questions into the chat box, and then if it's on topic, you can answer that. And for the audio, for people who are on audio podcast later on, probably just read the question and then answer it. And then following at the end of the interview, we'll open up the seat. So if somebody wants to jump in and have a live chat, or open up for general discussion. And and sometimes throughout, don't freak out, Sarah, but I might just sort of pause and just say welcome to people as they come. Just seems to be a bit of blab protocol just to welcome people on.
Sure. Well, I'm glad you've given us that little plan as to what's going to happen today, not just for everyone else, but particularly for me, because Tim, you're breaking my blab virginity today.
Oh dear! Oh, now gone red. Oh.
This is it. I know. I've been meaning to get on and do a blab for a while. I've been using Periscope, which is obviously, it's just fantastic for business, but I have yet to get on a blab. So when you said, hey, let's do it, instead of doing the usual Skype type interview, I thought, great, here's my opportunity. So all the people on, I see we're about 46 on at the moment.
Well,
you're
that's 40.
Too.
No, that's 46 total. There's actually 4 live. So next to the little eye, there's actually 4 on live, and you can actually see the little bubbles of who's actually on. With Blab, people like Periscope, people come and go. So and especially in an interview situation when we're not as interactive as just having a general chat, people will tend to come and go as well. Now what we'll do is I'll hit the So I do welcome those who are with us at the moment. And if you would like to click that tell little bird and invite a few more along. I know that at the moment it's 3 a.m. on the west coast of America. So we're not going to have too many people from that area on watching us unless they're night owls, and it's 6 a.m. Pacific Eastern time. So once again, maybe a little bit early, but it's nice to do things Australian time once in a while. Okay, actually we are recording already. Okay, good. So we'll get going and we'll get this information out because you've got a lot to share. So we're not going to muck around. Okay. So hello and welcome to another episode of the Online Course Coaching Podcast. And today's guest, well, let's say that 18 months ago she was homeless and broke, and now she is the CEO of a 7-figure education business. Now that is a story in itself, isn't it? And Sarah's going to be sharing that. So it's with great pleasure that I introduce award-winning Edupreneur Sarah Cordiner to the show. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you for having me. Yes, my journey's been a rather long one. Interestingly, I did actually start my education and training business in the UK, as you can probably tell from my accent, a good 10 years ago. So despite the huge amounts of makeup covering the wrinkly lines that have happened from that, I've just hit my decade in business, which has been certainly some journey. But I've actually taken that journey through a number of countries. After successfully running the business for a couple of years in the UK, I decided that it'd be a fantastic idea to pack up my life after a breakup and just move to Malta in the Mediterranean. I had no idea what I was going to do and started the business there. Was going wonderfully, and I then fell in love, and he said, let's move to Western Australia. So in the rush to go off and elope, I just packed up everything into a bag and moved to WA. But it was in that move that my husband was working away at sea. So the visas and everything else that goes with moving to another country depended on my shoulders at the time. So being that he was away at sea and we just got married, we had no money. We literally just packed up everything. We had no contact whatsoever. So I found myself basically washed up on the shores of Western Australia in 2012 with nothing but a 25-kilo suitcase and a whole load of hope. And when I say that I literally had nothing else, I genuinely mean it. I hadn't planned where I was going to live. I hadn't sorted out a job. And the excitement of the journey very quickly turned into what the hell have I done kind of moment. And then we, very quickly had to put dreams into action, because I had nothing to feed myself and put a roof over my head. So very quickly I had to really put some very resourceful strategies in place on less than a bootstrap budget, because I couldn't even afford a bootstrap. And clearly that's now worked out for me. So within 18 months of rocking up, I had built a business valued at 7 figures, which was wonderful. Educated thousands of Australian workers, helped loads more get into long-time unemployed Australians get into employment and work, and the business has now won a number of awards as well. So I am the walking, talking, living, breathing example that if there are people out there who are trying to start a business, thinking of starting a business, or who are struggling with one, then you don't have to wait until you've got this money, got all this certain circumstance, got this certain investor, got this certain equipment and resources and kit. Nah, really, your passion is enough. And I hope I can share just some of the very many strategies I use with you today, so that you can do that too, because it really isn't rocket science.
That's absolutely awesome. I think you said a very, very important point, is that don't wait for the perfect time, because there will never be the perfect time. Something is always going to come up, and just don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today. All those sayings are so true, and saying and your story is truly inspirational, and it is encouraging out there to people who sort of maybe scratching their head going, can I, can't I? So let's just ask you a very simple question to start with. Can anybody create an online course?
Absolutely. There's a bit of a toss up with this argument. Right? It's a very controversial subject when we talk about people becoming experts. Choose the word you wish to use here, because some people say, to be an expert, there's so much you have to have done and so much you have to have known. And to some degree, I agree with that. When it comes to hiring an expert to coach you or guide you in your business and provide you with advice that you're investing your money in, then absolutely, make sure that they are qualified in that subject area. Make sure they have at least 5 years experience. But when it comes to online courses, what I really want people to understand is that to a second grader, a fourth grader is an expert. That you have literally been learning everything you know your entire life. Everything you know how to do, every skill, every competency you have is a result of some kind of series of experiences that you've been through. And, I don't know how old you are listening to this, but that is a hell of a lot of experience to go by. Now, with 7.2 billion plus people on planet Earth, I can guarantee you very confidently that there are people out there that don't know how to do what you know how to do, and that there are people out there that would love to have the skills that you've got. So what I want to try and do is separate this word of expert versus online instructor, because although they can be the same thing, they don't have to be. And that feeling that, that feeling of fraud that puts a lot of people off becoming online instructors is because of this word expert, and they feel they have to be a qualified 5-year plus experienced professional in something to teach it to somebody. You don't. You can run a course on beekeeping, or baking cakes, or what do you do for a job every day? You've had to learn those skills, and someone wants to know them. You can get paid to pass those skills on, and very handsomely, I put it.
Absolutely. And just another thing, I love a fourth grader is an expert to a second grader, and we can always sort of just expand on that slightly and say that some people actually prefer to learn from somebody who's just slightly ahead the same path, because and this is a very common skill, like some people call it LAT, learn, apply, teach, and there's many other acronyms for it, like say learn a skill, put it to work, and then teach it. And because it's so fresh to you, and because you've just done it, you can relate all the pain and what went wrong and everything else very, very clearly and freshly, versus some PhD professor sitting up there, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
and I think Tim, that's actually a really good point. That's actually a success strategy in itself, because when we look at these experts, when we look at these people that are up there doing amazing things, sometimes we can feel very, very far from them. We can feel so distanced from them that it either puts us off getting in touch with them in the first place, or we just feel like maybe they're going to be too expensive, or I don't know. But when you can actually publicly say, I'm learning this, I'm enjoying this, here are my results, people love the journey. People love seeing what you're working on. By all means, if you're working on something, if you're doing a certain type of job, share that online and then start teaching it to people, because people suddenly go, wow, they're going through that, and I can relate to that person because they're just like me, and that makes them want to come to you.
Exactly, and sharing those behind the scenes shots. Like, I know that I was setting up to shoot a video one day, and my son actually took a photo of the setup, all the lights, and I was sitting there and everything was ready to go, and we put it on Facebook and it went crazy. There were so many likes because people want to be involved. They want to see behind the scenes. So
it does. It's a really cool book I'd recommend people reading, where I came from. It's called Show Your Work.
Okay.
Yeah, and that whole book is about to share your journey, not the product, because people can't relate to an end product, because they just, when it's just, ta-da, here's this perfect thing, and everyone's like, yeah, good for you, well done. Yeah. But when people see your wall covered in your notes and what you're up to and what you're doing, and you're explaining the hardships along the way, that's when people engage and they feel like they're part of the journey, and they want to see the end result.
And obviously, when you're sharing the hardships, and they see, well, look, it didn't just fall into the lap, and you say, well, I come up against this brick wall, and I had two choices. Well, as I say, no, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. But I had two choices. I could either just stop at the brick wall and go, oh, that's too hard, and walk back, or I could jump over the hurdle. And as we know, failure isn't the end. There's many failures on the way to success. It just means for every failure you have, you're closer to success.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, okay, so let's talk about, because there's sort of three main sort of themes that I want to share and that we discuss. So we want to talk about, obviously, the story of everybody who's going to listen to this podcast and is here now is interested to know, how the hell can you go from zero to a 7-figure education business? Okay, that's a big thing. So what's the strategy? What are the first steps and the thing to go? And then we're going to go into how to use Udemy effectively to be part of your strategy, and then looking at the bigger picture and how to use online courses as simply a tool to be recognized as a go-to expert, as a public speaker, to be invited onto guest panels and everything else. So that's what we want to cover in this. Put my glasses on, and say hello and welcome to everybody who's sitting up there. See, we're now up to 10 live viewers, so we are flying. Okay, so let's start with the journey. Okay, let's start with the how to. You have helped a number of people reach success with their online courses. So take us through the process.
Yeah, well, look, when I first started on this journey myself, one of the strategies I sort of now come up with, I've kind of given it a name, and you've mentioned this earlier, is having now been in business for 10 years, and that business has always been in the education sector. I'm postgraduate qualified in education and adult education and curriculum design, and I've been running an education business now for 3 years in 3 countries for 10 years internationally. And what I have realized is that this combination of entrepreneurship, which has many definitions, but in this circumstance, I'm going to call it growing a business profitably, combining that with the platform of education. This is where the world of online learning and even offline learning becomes extremely profitable for people. In the past, providing information, providing content to your audience was more a method of lead generation and exposure. We've all heard of content marketing. Very important, very big, very, very vital part of running a business. However, I believe that content marketing is fast being replaced by the beast that I call edupreneurship. And what we mean by edupreneurship is basically educating your market profitably. So this is a method or a strategy that absolutely any business in absolutely any industry can implement to grow their business and to make more money. And importantly, can make more money passively from not only that platform itself, the lead generation itself, but also from their primary products and services. So I say to people, look, I don't care whether you sell honey or whether you sell tires for tractors or whether you sell consultancy services or build websites for a living. You don't have to be a training provider to actually use this method effectively of edupreneurship, because absolutely, like I said before, everything you do, everything you have, every function within your business requires a set of skills, knowledge, and competencies. And if you can put on this mindset of content marketing, give that information away, give people help, educate them in a way that you get paid for it, then you are not only getting yourself leads and exposure, you're also getting yourself sales. And if you've set up your funnels and your products and your packages effectively, which I'll talk to you about today, then you're actually going to be creating ongoing sales for yourself in all of your actual other major services if the education platform part of it isn't your main service. So edupreneurship really is, I believe, the new era of entrepreneurship. And I think any business that isn't beginning to adopt this in the future is really going to fall behind. And we've mentioned that we're going to talk a bit about using some of the free online platforms to host your learning. I always say to people, when you're starting out, if this is new to you, or if you're just sort of putting your toe in the water at the moment, don't go out there and spend thousands of dollars building your own WordPress schools or your own website schools and things like that. There are plenty of online platforms that you can use out there completely free of charge, that already have an existing marketplace, that already have millions of students. Try the game out there first. And what you'll find happens, and this is why I love this as a replacement for marketing as well as making money, is that where everybody else is giving out their content for free, all good business owners should be, and if you're not, catch up, should be giving out, free webinars, free workshops, free articles. Perhaps you have a blog, perhaps you're doing podcasts. All of that stuff certainly has a place and will always have a place in business. But edupreneurs are taking it to a whole other level. Instead of just giving out that stuff for free, what I'm encouraging you to do is actually turn that content into an online course. Because what that does is means instead of you having to give your time for free, market those particular products or services or free workshops or free webinars, which costs you money. Your cost per acquisition on those leads is probably quite expensive when you calculate your time involved into all of that as well. Whereas the edupreneur who's turning that free stuff into an online course for, even if it's just $25 or $47, you're getting paid for your leads to come to you instead of you paying them. So it's a fantastic paid you lead generation strategy. And not only do they pay you for it, they thank you for it because you've taught them something fantastic. It really is the modern day world of doing business. So entrepreneurs, let's start thinking edupreneurs. And we'll now perhaps go into a little bit more of what that might look like for you in your business and what strategies you can use. What are your thoughts on this, Tim?
Oh, I'm right with you, and I saying like I have a blog and I have a podcast, so I'm doing all that free stuff. And you're right, it does cost, and not so much cost in terms of money, but it does cost in terms of time, and time is money. And I earn a good hourly rate doing other stuff that I do as well. So when I'm spending 4 hours editing up a podcast episode, so I think and people say, why would somebody pay for a course when they can find that information so freely available on the internet? And it's not people want things to be easy. And so if you can take, if you've already got a podcast or you've already got a blog, and you can curate that and package that into a step 1, 2, 3, 4, people will pay for that because now they've got that information and it's going to guide them through to a learning outcome. So yeah, I'm right up with that.
Yeah, well, look, I think a lot of people here are going, tell me about the money. That's what we want to know, right? You know, we are edupreneurs because we have a message, we have something to share with the world, and that's great. You know, hopefully you're in this because you do have a genuine desire to help people move from one place to another. So first of all, I really hope that you are in this for that. That's very important. But obviously we have businesses to run and we have bills to pay. So we want to make sure that while we're making a difference to the world, leaving a legacy and helping other people out, we're also helping out ourselves by earning ourselves the money that we actually deserve for putting together all of this fantastic content. You know, you deserve to get highly paid for working hard on helping the world. So let's talk a little bit about packaging. Because this is really important. And when I really started taking this seriously in my business, I noticed a huge difference in my revenue and in my sales and my conversions. Now, I don't know about you guys, but have you ever sort of sat at home and I don't know whether you live with a partner or housemates or you've got kids or whatever, but you have that moment where you go, you know, what do you want for dinner? And yeah, I don't know, what do you want? Or I don't know, what do you want for dinner? What are you having? It just goes on, doesn't it? And it's funny how we actually apply this same mentality sometimes to our businesses. And, you know, if you're focusing on online business or training business or any kind of business, what often happens is we know our products and services so well, so inside out, that we almost forget what it's like to not know what they are. So when a client comes to us and wants to hear about what we have to offer, we often reel out everything, we give them loads of advice, often probably too much free advice on these free strategy calls and sessions that we do. And we go, blah, 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 these are all the different ways I can help you. Client, what would you like me to do for you? And the client goes, oh, I don't know, what have you got? And basically what happens is the client is sort of got all this stuff flying around in their head and they end up not making a decision, and we end up not converting that lead and making a sale. What we need to do is give them a menu. Now, if we give the kids or the wife or the partner or whatever an actual menu for a takeaway, all of a sudden the dinner dilemma is solved because something gets picked. It's exactly the same if we took them out to the restaurant, something would get picked for dinner because it's in black and white and they can see very clearly what their different options are. So first of all, my first question is have you actually sat down and listed down all of the different products and services that you provide to your audience, and with the exact pricing next to it? It's so important to do that. It's unbelievable. Now, some people say to me, oh yeah, but Sarah, I'm only working on this one little course and you know, it's not quite ready yet. That's all I've got. And when it is ready, that's all I'm going to have. Well, you can make this a tiered package. So let's go with a random example so I can start showing you how this works. Now, one of my courses is on how to build profitable courses. And so if you have built something online, and it doesn't matter if it's a really cheap one or if it's a really expensive program, but try and create, first of all, the cheap one that would be the equivalent of your free workshop or your free webinar or your articles or your podcast that you would normally do free of charge. And then you might have from there, from your $25 or $47, that same course plus a set of templates that go with it. So I don't know what you're teaching. Even if you're teaching health, you might have a little menu or a diet plan or an exercise plan that goes with it. So what templates can you possibly put with it? Now, again, you're probably going to be planning on teaching something that you already do every single day. You are going to have byproducts from that, what we call the sawdust. You know, what templates have you got on your computer? What documents do you use every day that you could clean up and turn into a generic blank template that somebody could use? So then you have your cheap course, you have your cheap course plus a template. Perhaps you then have your slightly more advanced course, which is a bit more again. Then you have your advanced course plus some more templates. Then you have all of that plus a coaching session, all of that plus 3 coaching sessions. And so we go up. Now, one of the ways that I explain to people and how we can actually start pricing those different levels, because people go to me, okay, right, I've got my head around that. I'm hoping you're all following me here. We then need to go, well, how much is each of one of those different packages or tiers worth? Well, this is how I like to explain it. At the very bottom of our funnel, so this is where we have our free stuff or our cheap stuff, we are looking at information. So for instance, a book, this is information. This is, you know, you can't really buy a book for much more than $30. So we're talking cheaper end products there. It's pure info. It's stuff that people can probably get online or watch a YouTube video on or whatever. The next step from information is when we start giving people implementation. So what we mean by implementation is, do we give people any actual strategies? Do we give them any kind of methods? Do we give them a step-by-step system to follow? Do we give them some tools that they can use to actually start turning this info into practical exercise? If we move to the implementation stage, we're looking now at charging a little bit more money. The next stage from that is then what I call our transformation stage. So this is when you look at what course you're doing or what service you're providing. So you can really apply this to everything. I know we're on a course writing workshop here, but really you can apply this to any level of your business. Do you, or the information you're going to present in this course, does it help people get from A to B? Does it help them move from one circumstance to a better circumstance? Does it help them change or grow positively, whether it be attitudinal, behavioral, whether they increase in skill set, whether they increase in a level of knowledge? Does it actually provide a measurable transition or movement from one place to another by the time that they have had that course, that product or service from you? That is when we start actually being able to charge our much higher dollars. This is where we could be moving into sort of our 4-figure range, because the transformation is really something that you can't always get from information or implementation products. So from there, we then can go up a whole other level. So once you've figured out what can you do in all of those stages, we then want to think about the marketplace or our customers that might be a bit lazy. They could also be just purely time poor, or they could be like, I really need this service, but I just can't be bothered to do it myself. I want the expert to do it. So this is what I call the do it for you service. Now, whatever you do, whatever you're talking about, whatever your subject is, I'm sure there is something that you can do for your audience. If you're teaching social media marketing, the do it for you would be you actually doing their Facebook ads for them, for instance. If you build websites, obviously that speaks for itself. I help people write courses. I can write somebody's course for them. So look at what you do and see if it's in that topic you can do something for them. That, again, is going to be much higher price. Now, let me give you a little bit of a metaphor here before I move on to the highest level. I like to think of this a bit like a cookbook. So we've all got a recipe book or a cookbook on probably rotting away somewhere behind the microwave with moths and spiders in it, if it's anything like mine. And what happens is that cookbook has all the information. It's got exactly what recipe, what ingredients we need to have. It has the implementation. It has the actual steps and methods we need to follow to create the dish. It tells us how to chop it, how to bake it, how to mix it, how to sniff it, everything. We then have the transformation part from a cookbook, because if, for instance, it's a healthy cookbook, if we take that information, if we follow the steps, we implement it into our lives, it can help us transform our health. It can help us transform our mental health, our weight, our everything. Now, when we get more expensive, this is when, for instance, instead of cooking it ourselves, we go to a restaurant. That's the do it for you bit. We get someone else to cook it for us, or we order a takeaway. Now, clearly, that's always more expensive than it is to cook ourselves at home. Now, here's the final end of your tier. This is what I call the do it with you package. This is when I pick up the phone, I call Gordon Ramsay and I say, hey, mate, do you know, I just really want you to hold my hand here. I don't really know what the heck I'm doing. And Gordon Ramsay comes to my house. He comes in my kitchen. We cut together. We mix together. He helps me check whether it's ready or not. He shows me his secret strategy for mixing the soup. And then he sits down with me, has a glass of wine, and we eat our dish together. That do it with you service is your most expensive service that you could possibly offer, because this is when you're exchanging your time for money. Now, when you're exchanging your time for money, that is where the cost comes in. So look at that tier and decide, make a menu for every single one of those tiers. Now, if you've got multiple products and multiple courses and multiple services within your business, you might actually have a series of those tiers, those packages for every single product you've got. So I have a tier like that for delivering training. I have a tier like that for writing training for people. You know, you get the point. So make sure you start by writing up those menus. Now, when it comes to, but Sarah, you didn't really give me the prices I should use. That's really when your market research element needs to come in, which we'll talk about in a second. Tim, I'll hand back over to you if you've got any comments to add to that.
I'm with you all the way. I've actually set up a couple of things. Would it be possible if you put some headphones in, Sarah? Have you got headphones? Oh no, it's all right.
Yeah.
We've stopped. Sometimes Blab gets a little bit funny. It can't work out when it's supposed to mute the other side and not. Yeah. Okay.
All good?
Awesome.
Better?
Yeah, all good. Thanks for that. Yeah, no, just sometimes I said Blab is still in beta, and sometimes it just gets a little bit confused about where the audio should be coming from. Anyway, yeah, I believe in that, and in the saying, like, sometimes you got to give people a choice, as you're saying, and research has shown that they, you know, if you give three people, if you give people three options, they're usually going to take the middle one. So it's usually the option that you really want them to take. You're going to stick in the middle. You know, in your tiers and packaging things up. So yeah, so have your course with community. Like community is another thing that people really sort of push hard, like their secret or their private Facebook groups, and coming in, because once again now they're getting interaction like on a social level with people in that same course, and also then the course facilitator can also come in there and answer questions as well. So that's giving a little bit more access. You could also have a package into some live webinars, right? So you can go have the course and now also come in for a series of 3 or 4 webinars, and you're even getting into a live interaction. Unfortunately, we can't use things like Blab for these sort of things because it is a public. There's no way you can keep anything private here. So anybody paying a premium price would get really sort of annoyed if they sort of said, "Oh, it's all over Blab," so that's a waste of time. Yeah, so I'm right there. I'm right there with you, and I suppose it's so when it comes to your pricing protocol, though, that's where it gets tricky, and I suppose it's a calculation. Like, say, if I want to make, say, $97 US an hour for coaching, and I say that no, my course is $47. It's going to cost you $47 to be in a community. I'm going to throw in an hour's coaching, so I'm going to make it $200 or something like that. Is that the way that you do the pricing?
Yeah, well, I guess one of the things I will say is that I cannot possibly recommend to you that X service equals X cost, because only you can decide from that basic structure I've just given you as to what really you should be charging. So I'd always say to you, stick to that. Information is the cheapest. Go through that series, and then the do it with you is the most expensive. Now, to really get an idea as to, well, is the cheap end $50 or $500, and is the top end $1,000 or $10,000? Only you can really research your particular industry to get an idea as to what the general trends out there in the market actually are. And when it comes to online courses, if that's what we're looking at pricing at the moment, the absolute best way I'd recommend you going about doing that would be simply to go and look at what else is out there in your particular field. Now, again, this is not to copy. This is to get a really good idea as to benchmark what the industry is going to be expecting for a certain amount of money. Now, you can go on to all of the different online platforms out there, find other courses in your particular field, and these are the things you need to be looking at. You need to be looking at, obviously, is what are they charging? Number one, how many modules and sections or lectures are they giving away for that? How many hours or minutes of training is actually included in that? And what are the topics? You also want to be looking at, from that model I've just given you, are the topics that your competition giving just information? Is it just advice and guidance? Or are they giving actual implementation strategies and tools and methodologies? Or are they creating some form of business or life transformation? If they are, you need to be making sure that you are providing something that's similar for the same sort of price you're charging, if not actually better. So use that as the base point for your research as to what you should be charging for yours. Ideally, when you're looking at your competition, what you're looking for are all those things, but also how can you take it to the next level? How can you offer even more value? And obviously, don't be afraid to charge a little bit more for the fact that you're improving, because people will compare yours to somebody else's. And if they can clearly see that yours does give more value, they won't mind paying more money. So that's one way of researching when it comes to pricing. But when it comes to research,
can I just pop in there too and just say, and to everybody, don't be martyrs and don't get the guilt up about charging for the information. I'll give you an example. I can give you plenty of examples why you should be charging, but I just went and bought Ray Edwards' copywriting academy course, right? I hooked in there with the early bird, and I think it costs about $800 US. And he's a fantastic guy and a very solid Christian. He's got no qualms about charging that much money for a course. He's got no qualms charging $200,000 to write a sales letter, because that sales letter is then going to turn around and make millions of dollars for the person who writes it for. And so you also got to take the possible transformation that the person is going to receive from doing a course as part of the pricing. So if you can do a course, and then that person turns around and writes one sales letter and charges $5,000, and they just got 5 times back their investment anyway, and that's from one sales letter. So you've got to take the transformation. And the other thing too is if you're not charging anything, you can't continue to improve your services. You can't get the equipment, and you want to make an impact in the world. The best way to make an impact in the world and change people's lives is to create the lifestyle and the wealth that you can then go out and you can start building schools and whatever and start making these massive changes, because you created the lifestyle just by simply sharing your knowledge. And I think that what your potential is amazing. But I'll hand back over to you now.
Brings me beautifully onto my next point, actually, because if we're going to create the lifestyle for ourselves that we want, regardless of whether that's freedom, whether it's financial, we need to actually be building our courses and our products to be what our audience want. Now, one of the mistakes that we often make is we have a passion for something, so we think, I'm going to write a course on that. Well, that's great, but what you are going to be doing is making it very hard for yourself if you are thinking about what you want to teach and not what your students want to learn, or importantly, what they want to buy. And what they want versus what they need are two very different things. So we need to be stopping thinking about what we want to do as such and focusing more on this. How can I build something that's going to not only be desirable, but be something that absolutely everybody wants to buy from me? So there's a couple of ways of doing this. We need to, first of all, make sure we have what we call a product to market fit. What we mean by that is we need to make sure we're building something that people want to buy. So when we're selling that course, we need to be thinking, first of all, about the difference between their wants and their needs. They might sound the same, but they're very different. People don't buy what they need, they buy what they want. And what I mean by that is, for instance, if we sell headache tablets, what we tend to do is sell what people need, which is, hey, buy my headache tablets. Nobody wants to buy headache tablets, but what people want is relief from their headache. So instead, we should be selling, how to relieve your headache and how to not have a headache anymore. So how do we find out what our audience wants to buy? instead of what they need to buy. Now, one of my favorite ways of doing this is to quite simply just go and ask them. If you are seriously, you can actually get your customers to do all of the work for you, to do all of your curriculum planning for you. Go into groups where your audience hang out, go into Facebook groups. For instance, if you sell dog food, type in I Heart Dogs and find the groups where people are hanging out that love dogs. And obviously that's where your audience are going to be, and type in something like, hey guys, I'm going to write a course on how to look after your dog. What would you like me to teach you? Believe me, because you're in that group where all of those people are hanging out, you will get loads of people say, I want to know X, Y, Z. So that's one way of doing it, first of all. Now, the other one that I absolutely love is using forums to help me build my curriculum. Because people always say to me, where the hell do I start when it comes to writing this course? So this topic you've got could be absolutely enormous, and it could go on forever and ever. You could write 10 university degrees on it. And this is where we get so overwhelmed, we don't know where to begin. And so many online instructors just procrastinate for so long that they never get it done, and they never start earning this passive income. So go on to platforms like Quora, Quora. Absolutely amazing. This is a platform where anyone asks any type of question you could possibly imagine. Another one is Reddit, Reddit, and there's loads more out there. But basically, if, for instance, I obviously help people with online courses. So I would go into that platform and type in online course. Now, what happens is all of the questions that have ever been asked with the term online course in it come up. So straight away, you are finding out exactly what questions your audience are asking in that topic. Now, this does another thing for you. Not only do you know what stuff you need to answer, it also tells you what kind of information are they asking for. Are they just asking for that advice and guidance info? Or are they asking for tools, strategies, techniques, implementation? Are they asking how they can move from A to B, transformation? Or are they asking to find a provider who can provide a service for them, do it for you? Or do they want coaching and help and someone to hold their hand and guide it through? Do it with you. So straight away, you start getting a fantastic idea of not only what your modules and themes and topics need to be in your course, you also know exactly what kind of content you need to actually be building. So you can also then straight away start getting a really good idea as to how much your course is going to sell for, and therefore how much time, energy, and effort you're going to put into it. So that is just such a great way, and it's so simple, it's almost brain numbing. That you can get your audience to do that hard work for you. Another one is to just use simple surveys. There's things like SurveyMonkey. I don't like that because it restricts you to only 10 questions, and then you have to pay if you want to have more. I love using Google Forms. It's completely free of charge. It works the same way as SurveyMonkey does. It has all the pre-filled different types of questions, and you can make it as big as you want. And again, in exactly the same way, you create your form, it gives you a URL, and you can send that out to your social media or to your contacts, whatever. So that's another really fantastic way. And I tend to use that at the end. So after I've asked people loads of questions on Facebook, and I've gone through all the forums and listed down the most common questions, drawn up my rough answers to them, I then start building out a bit of a structured curriculum, and I won't go into curriculum planning today. I then create a questionnaire that goes into a lot more depth about that curriculum. So I'll get people that are really interested in my topic to then answer, if we were to teach about this subject on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not interested, 5 being very interested, how much would you like to learn this? And I get a rating scale then from my audience, so I know how much to go into that topic and how little to go into each topic. So that really starts refining. So again, what this does is it gets rid of all the confusion. It helps you focus on what you need. It tells you exactly what stuff you need to completely get rid of. And it also helps you laser focus on no one cares about that, everyone cares about this. And it takes away that stress of it being about what you want, and instead helps you create something that your audience want to pay for.
Absolutely awesome. That is fantastic advice, and yeah, that's really laser focusing the information, because now your audience or your students, and now they're involved, so they've got some skin in the game as well, which is also important. And one thing I want to come back to Quora, because I'm a big fan of Quora as well, is not only can you do research there, but you can also establish authority and drive traffic. I get on there and answer questions, and it's not salesy, and it's not to push my stuff. It's just to like if somebody has a question, and I believe I've got something useful to offer that person, I'm just going to get on there and type out a response. And half the time I don't even leave a link back to my site, because my link's up in my profile anyway. And then when I check my Google Analytics, I get a heap of traffic through from that site. So, it's
really good for that. Yeah. And in fact, that this is one of the techniques that I've used as myself as well, Tim, is when I'm going through researching all the questions, I keep open a Google Doc, and I start writing up my answers to them. And what you find is you start seeing the same or very similar questions coming up over and over again. So I always just keep this list of my answers to those main questions, which I then give to my virtual assistant, who checks into Quora for me, I always have a link at the bottom to one of my online courses that particular question might reference to, and she just copies and pastes the answers in, which is constant, like I say, driving traffic, making me look great, and it's not creating more work for myself. Every time a new or random different question comes up, she just says to me, "Hey Sarah, here's a new question, can you write up an answer?" So off I go, type, put it in the master doc. And what that's doing is not only building my course content, it's building stuff that I then create articles out of and create blogs from. I do videos with those as well. So I find that these questions are asked, I'll chuck a video up on my phone, put it up on my social media. That generates more traffic and leads my way as well. So it's a way of overall growing yourself as an authority in those topics. So it's a fantastic tool to use for the wider business. And
I just stumbled across something yesterday to my absolute delight, and I recommend this to anybody as well. Like, when these people are doing their launch sequence, so they make up 3 or 4 videos, and they sort of drip feed those videos over a period of a week or 2 weeks. Usually they allow for an entry of comments down, like Facebook comments. So I actually went onto this launch site yesterday, and it's about creating online courses. And the guy said, "No, and while you're at it, can you just put down the bottom here what your biggest challenge is in creating your online course?" And there's over 2,000 comments. Now, what a resource for a course creator on online courses. Now, to go through those, and we're not talking about stealing somebody's launch. So we're not talking about going there and contacting these people or posting something spammy, but just as an information source to go through and saying, what questions do these people have? What are their hurdles? What is their number one challenge? It's gold. So if you see somebody doing a launch on a topic that that you are writing a course on, join that launch, and because firstly you're going to see how they're doing their launch, but you're also going to see through comments what other people are saying, what challenges they have, and what information they're looking for. So
I think you've raised a good point there, actually, Tim, as well, because this is another question a lot of people say to me is, yeah, but, I had this idea to do this course. I started researching, and what I found is that there are hundreds of people with the same course as me, so now I'm not going to do it. And I go, no, please do not be put off when you see that there are loads of courses out there, because number one, what this means is that there is already a market for that topic. This is actually a really good thing, so please don't be put off by that. And secondly, another thing is they go, yeah, but this guy who's doing the same course, he's really great. He's got loads of fans. He's really well known. If I put up my course next to him, it's just going to get a rubbish reception. Where actually one of the things I think people really need to know is that you are completely unique. You are so completely unique. Your perspective and your approach to that topic may be completely different. The way you teach is completely different. I don't care who you are not the same as somebody else in the way that you communicate. Some people love some teachers and hate some teachers purely because they do or don't like the way they look, or the way they talk, or their body language,
or the way they dress.
Anything, yeah. Their topics. I mean, one of the things I always say, you know, we write training for a living and we actually sell our IP. We just give it away. We're not protective over it at all. Because one of the things I say as a trainer is I could literally give my training materials to another trainer and they will deliver it completely different to me, even if I give them my script. Because we're just all different. And that is why nobody is your competition, because it's you that brings that uniqueness to that course, even if your curriculum is identical to somebody else's. So obviously try and make it different, but please don't let that put you off creating something fantastic that's going to help other people and get you money.
That's fantastic. You've shared so much. Is there anything on this particular aspect that you really want to cover before we sort of move on and maybe talk about how to utilize a platform like Udemy?
Yeah, well, look, there was so much stuff. I just put down a load of bullet points to talk about, but we've naturally gone off and all different sorts of courses. One of the things I was going to talk about was how to actually pull your curriculum content together, like how to actually build your content. Another thing I was going to talk about is how to actually take your edupreneurship to the next level. So how, once you've got your course live, how you can actually use that to grow your business in other ways. And I was also going to mention the sort of the Udemy question. Yep. Which is, should I be using it? So I think I'll go to that one next because it's logical to move there before we touch anywhere else. And I'll let you guys decide which things you want me to talk about as we close. But yeah, so I get a lot of people. Udemy is probably the most popular and well-known online learning platform at the moment. It's basically, for those of you who don't know, a marketplace for online courses. It's completely free to use, and it has courses on anything on there, and anyone can create a profile and upload their training courses to it too. Now, it has its unique features in that it can discount your courses to a huge degree. And this is why many instructors say to me, Sarah, should I bother using Udemy when it discounts my courses so cheaply and when everything that's sold on there is cheap? Well, my answer is, if you're not using it, you are leaving money on the table. You really, really are. All the different learning platforms out there have their unique pros and cons. They have their advantages and they have their disadvantages. Now, Udemy has a number of disadvantages, one being that you can't collect your students' data, which means you can't create and grow your own database. So that's a big disadvantage to some people. And the other one is that, yes, you could put a $300 course up there and tomorrow their affiliates could be selling it for $10 and you might only get $5 of that earnings come into your pocket. So people always say to me, you know, what's the point then? Why should I bother? Well, first of all, is I go back to this point of you're giving out free stuff anyway. Why don't you get paid for it? This is paid lead generation. It's exposure. Now, like I said, Udemy has millions of students already in its marketplace. They are marketing for their instructors all day, 24 hours a day, every single day. So you make your money out of pure volume of sales. There are people that are on there now. If you go and research, have a look at some of the courses in your particular category or in your particular theme, there are people on there that have literally tens of thousands of students. Now, if they are only earning $5, now some of them are earning a lot more than that per student, do the math. You can actually see how many students they've brought in. It is humongous. And I am certainly earning the average Australian's full-time salary from my couple of online courses that I've actually not even had up for very long at all. So this just goes to show that the money really is there. You need to repurpose your content. So you want to take advantage of its advantages, basically. And that is that it has large numbers and that it's getting you exposure. So if, for example, and I use this example all the time, I've posted this on my Facebook page, if you have a $500 course, for the love of all the gods, don't try and sell a $500 course on Udemy. You're going to lose a lot of money, and it's just a waste of that valuable content. What you should do instead is take that $500 course, break it down into 10 modules, and create 10 courses at $50 each. $47 each. That way, you are still getting the same amount of money for your course. You're not losing anything at all, money-wise. I actually also think this is far more beneficial than having a $500 course, because psychology tells us that people are more likely to spend $50 10 times than they are to spend $500 once. It's just pure psychology. It's the way people do it. Now, what this also means is you're getting 10 times more exposure. If someone's seeing you 10 times, great. If you've got 10 topics, you also have 10 different types of people that are going to come and see you, check you out and buy your courses, because you've got 10 different types of titles there for people to look at. So I actually think that Udemy is a fantastic platform when you look at it from that point of view. And really, like I say, you really need to be using it to those advantages.
Absolutely. And would you look at maybe trying, I don't really know whether you can do this on Udemy, whether you can actually I know you can put links into the last lecture of your Udemy course, but I don't know whether they'd really like you promoting an off-site course through there.
You've got to be careful. Yeah, you do have to be careful with that. They don't like you trying to redirect students out of the Udemy platform, but there are a couple of loopholes at the moment that are allowed. Now, at the time of recording this, it's October. At the moment, you are allowed to, first of all, you have an instructor's profile, and that actually has set spaces for you to put in links to all of your websites and all of your social media platforms. So it's not like you're being cut off from your students. If you deliver great training, then they will want to go and find you and follow you and check you out on your other social media platforms. And what you can actually do is at the end of your course, you're not allowed to have it in your course, but at the end of your course, you're allowed to have a bonus module. So in all of mine, I have bonus how to contact Sarah. And then I just have me standing in front of a PowerPoint slide, and I've got the names of all of me on social media, my Twitter handle and everything else. And I say, hey guys, I'd love to hear from you more, because obviously if I can get them following me on social media, I do loads of promotions and put up links to my lead pages and all sorts there. So you can do that. And you can obviously certainly cross promote your other courses that you have on those platforms as well. Now, ultimately what you're trying to do here is not just sell stuff for cheap. You're trying to give them amazing content and value that makes them gagging for more, basically. So it's up to you to build fantastic content so that they want to go and search for you elsewhere, because believe me, my leads, my followings and my social media contacts have gone up humongously since I've been using Udemy. And so many people are coming and messaging me privately on Facebook and going, hey, I've seen your course on Udemy, it was really good, thanks, can I get some coaching from you, can you build my course for me, or whatever. And that I'm making a lot of sales that way. So it's not completely restrictive.
Awesome, good stuff. Yeah, so I think the same thing. You've got to repurpose. If anybody wants it, like how do I cut a $500 course into $10, $50 courses? Well, maybe look at the game of golf, and you can put up a $500 course taking golf from the A to Z definitive guide, or you can put up a course on how to putt, how to chip, how to drive, and you can cut all these. You can cut that into all these different skills and then cross promote. So say the person who wants to putt will naturally want to know how to chip and know how to drive and everything else. So, and even if they do discount to $10, then at least you're getting,
you're still getting paid for a lead. 25% of your course instead of, whatever.
Okay. Onto the next, the next topic of the discussion was taking it to the next level. So, okay, this it's like in the old days, because you're saying it has changed, because before it was he wrote the book. So if you were an author and you had a book on a particular title, so you've got to get John because he wrote the book on the subject. Well, I suppose that's still sort of true to a degree, but now it's probably opening up more to you got to go and talk to John because he's got the top selling course on the subject. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And I think like I said, going back to where I started from, was edupreneurship is definitely a methodology to use as a wider strategy for your sales, for your marketing, and for your business development and business growth. And follow this in the right way, and you can actually use a course to get yourself lots of other business and income earning opportunities. And this is certainly what I've done, and it's continuously growing my business and my authority positioning in my particular industry. So yeah, if you are teaching something, then you are automatically positioning yourself as somebody who has a lot of knowledge in it. Call it a guru, call it expert, like I say, whatever word you want to pick of that. That is how you're automatically seen when you're delivering something, because to be able to be teaching it, you must have been doing it for a long time. That's the mentality. So what you can do now is you start at the end of every blog post you do, every video you do, every YouTube video you do, make sure you have a link back to your course. Because now you are no longer just a content marketer. Now you're a content marketer that is an educator, and straight away it's going up to that next level. And this stuff really gets noticed. If you can do exactly like I'm doing now here with you, Tim, I'm passing on valuable content to your audience. But what I'm also doing is demonstrating to people that have expertise in my knowledge, and can share the links to my courses. And what I will do is give you guys a massive 50% discount to my whole list of courses I've got up there at the moment. So this is what happens now as you start getting this exposure. This exposure leads to lots of things. It leads to press coverage. Now I do use things like sourcebottle.com and helpareporterout.com. That's got me positions writing articles in magazines, in regular posts on online magazines and blogs. It's also got me whole chapters in published books. What it also does is it starts positioning you very much as somebody who the industry starts going to for advice or information in that particular topic. If you have a course, for some reason, it just makes you stand out from the crowd that tiny bit more. And I have now started getting endless requests to go and speak and present on stages. Now, just to throw this out there, public speaking, or professional speaking, is not only a job, it's also the second most highest paid job in the world by the hour. Now, it depends what you talk about. It depends what your topic is. It depends how big the audience is. But you can actually get like up to $5,000 an hour for a keynote presentation. So if you have, through your courses, positioned yourself as somebody who talks on that thing, you can get yourself those paid positions on stages, which is also yet another opportunity to sell even more of your courses. So this is a really good way of taking this really to the next level, of getting that media coverage, getting in newspapers, magazines, this just continuously to promote yourself even more. And once you get over this tipping point, life is pretty dandy.
Absolutely. And saying, like, you were recently on an expert panel, so it leads, this just opens up the to so much. Okay, is there anything before we close down the official interview, and then we're going to open up a seat, so if anybody wants to sort of jump into a seat and have a chat with Sarah and ask any questions. I don't know how long Sarah's got, but we will. I'm easy. Yeah, same here. So we will open up that seat. I may grab a beer, but we will open up that seat. But we will look at closing the official side of the interview shortly, and then we'll get into the chat. So, but before we do that, Sarah, is there anything that you really want to share and get across to the audience?
I could literally go on all night, Tim. Like I said, I had a really big list here of stuff we can go through. I think one of the biggest things that really helped me move from zero money to having a 7-figure business was putting on this mentality of thinking like a thought leader. One of the questions you need to ask yourself is, how can you make yourself a celebrity in your particular area of expertise? Now, what I don't necessarily mean is getting the red carpet rolled out and on the front page of magazines, although that would be awesome if you can do that. What you need to do is go, how many of my friends and family actually know what I do? Now, while they probably know what your industry you're in, do they actually know what services you actually provide to your audience to help them do whatever you do? And I think you'll find, embarrassingly, that not very many know the exact strategies and methods and services and products you provide. So first of all, just think about getting those people to know what you do, because the majority of business that comes to small business owners is from referrals and by word of mouth. If you can have people tagging you in Facebook groups going, you should ask that person, and tagging your name, you're never going to have to pay for marketing ever again. Your customers are going to constantly be sent your way. So once you've got your friends and family knowing what you're doing, get your wider audience on social media knowing what you're doing. Once they know what you're doing, focus on making your whole town know what you do, exactly what you do. Then your city, then your state, then your country, then globally. If you can focus on how can I make sure the world knows what I do, believe me when I say that your referrals will absolutely go through the roof. Now, I've actually, I got asked this question so many times, Sarah, how did you do it? There are a number of strategies I use, but I decided to create an online course to answer that very question. So I've created an online course called How to Become the Go-To Authority in Your Industry. Edupreneurship is just one of those strategies. That's inside that course. There's over 40 tutorials. So I'd love to give you guys a massive 50% discount off of that for being awesome with me tonight.
You can drop the link into the chat. Actually, I've been dropping a link to your main site throughout the chat, because as people come and go, so I've dropped it about 3 times. But yeah, if you drop the link into the chat, that'd be awesome.
Brilliant. I will just drop that right now. I won't keep going because I think there's a lot in I could talk about, and I've got a lot in my various online courses that go into all of these in much more detail. But I'm certainly more than happy to hang around for another 15 minutes or so, Tim, to answer any questions that anyone has. Awesome.
Okay. Well, I'd like to say thank you very much for all your time and the wealth of knowledge that you dumped on it. I mean, for goodness sake, it was amazing, and just my head's absolutely spinning. So I'll be listening to this replay a few times, as will I'm sure my listeners. But I'm going to unlock this seat now. So please, the seat is open. So if anybody wants to jump in and ask any questions of Sarah, this is an ideal opportunity to take advantage of Sarah's vast knowledge and experience. So she's helped a number of people. Not only has she taken herself from 0 to 7 figures in 18 months, but she's also helped a lot of other people create their courses and strategies as well. So don't be shy. We're not going to bite. And this is Blab, and Blab is all about conversation and interaction. And this is what makes Blab unique. And this is what I like about Blab. I found Periscope and fell in love with Periscope. I got really, really excited when I saw Periscope, and then I saw Blab. I like both, but I think for what I do, and especially podcasting and everything else, Blab is the way to go. While we're waiting for somebody to maybe jump into that seat,
I'm just putting my links below for you here.
That is absolutely awesome. And then if you can then throw those into an email for me, I'll
certainly.
I'll then make sure those links are in the show notes here we go. We've got a caller, and this show will go live on Sunday my time, and these links and the show notes will be in there. Hello and welcome. Are we coming in? Is that Madras? Hello and welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you. Hi, thank you. I just jumped in and I didn't catch much of the talk, but I think I have got an idea what you're talking about. I like to talk a little bit about my experience, and then see how I can improve my job. I used to have a small business, and then after a while I had to move to another place. Well, my business, small business, was suspended, and I lost my clients and the people who knew about it. And then when I have come back to where I started the business fast, I wanted to start again, but I found it a little bit difficult to find the people who used to be, my clients. I mean, to sell them my goods. Now, my question is, how am I to spread my information about my business?
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
definitely. And
yeah,
the theme of today, I'd say to you, just get cracking with this edupreneurship theme. How can you teach your audience about what you know? What's your topic? What's your area of expertise? What are you knowledgeable in?
Teaching.
So you teach people how to teach?
No, I'm an English teacher.
English teacher.
Great. Well, you know, the world of English teaching and language teaching, the IELTS system, for instance, the International English Language Testing System, are hugely popular. In fact, it is a $1 million industry. There are lots and lots of students across the world that go online to learn how to speak English. So that is certainly a massive market that you could be tapping into there. And you can use platforms like Udemy to test out your own teaching skills. You can use platforms like that to teach people English and get paid very, very handsomely for that, because there are millions of students every year looking for that very topic. So I'd recommend you start there.
Thank you.
No worries.
Okay, have a nice day.
Thank you. Thanks for calling in. Okay, was there somebody else who would like to jump in and have a chat, ask a question? Like, I mean to say, look, you may not think that you have a need to teach, but what if you were some sort of professional who, when you were getting your clients first coming to you, you were always answering the same questions. You had the same questions, going through the same information. How would you think about putting an introductory course up so that when people first contact you, you can direct them to a course, they get all that information, and so then it qualifies them as to whether they're actually going to remain on as a client for you. That they could be like a health professional, like any sort of consulting. What about if you present workshops? You can take the theory side out. So say if you've got a 3-day workshop, well, you can make it a 2-day workshop, put the theory into an online course structure, still charge the same amount of money and free yourself up for a day. There's so many different ways that you can create online courses. What about training your own staff? What about having some standardized training within your company? How difficult is these days when you've got constant staff turnover and trying to keep your staff trained to a standard? How about creating a course that all your staff go through and everybody knows their job? Look, just all you got to do is just think, do I have knowledge and how can I share it?
Absolutely. Do we have anyone else that might like to ask any questions in the chat or jump on in a seat before we close up?
And I was saying, and if you're a little bit worried about appearing on camera, you can actually there's in the top right of your address bar, there's a little thing that looks like a camera. You can actually disable your webcam and come in audio only if you're a bit camera shy.
Mm. I think we have lost him there. Oh, we've got Tanya calling in. Hello, Tanya.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Alrighty, what's your question?
I didn't actually have a question because I've just clicked on the icon just to see what was playing, just to...
You jumped. That's all right. You've managed to jump in onto the seat. We've actually just come to the end of today's blog. What we've been talking about is how to create profitable online courses and how to use those to actually grow your business profitably. So since you've managed to... You've inadvertently jumped on the seat, on the hot seat here. Are you creating any online courses at the moment? Do you have anything online, or are you planning to?
Yeah, actually, my business partner and I are, we've just started a business recently around digital education and digital workshops, and we're very focused on creating more digitally savvy individuals and businesses. So,
Right.
the space is very, it's very much of interest at the moment.
Excellent. And do you have any questions then about making that course popular, making money from it, setting it up, getting it online? Is there any questions about selling online courses that you might have for us?
I suppose one of the things that we're facing at the moment is that lead generation piece, to finding out how we attract the right sort of people. I mean, a lot of our courses are at the moment face-to-face and very custom. So we're going through the process of trying to figure out how we generate those leads and get them booking and so forth. So that's probably our biggest thing at the moment.
Excellent. That's one of the biggest questions we actually get about online courses is after people have finished asking questions about how to build it in the first place, the next one is now how do we sell it and make money from that? And so many questions have come through to me that way that I'm creating an online course at the moment on how to market and sell your online course. So keep an eye out for that one. I'll put a link down below so that you can pop your name down if you'd like to be notified when it comes out.
Right.
All right. Thanks, Tanya.
No worries. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, we have Osam.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Do you have any questions for us about creating online courses?
What?
You've jumped onto a blab about creating online courses. Do you have any questions? Sorry?
I am speak Arabic.
Okay, do you speak English?
Yes.
Do you have any questions for us?
Yes.
Yes, no?
Yes.
Do you have a question about creating online courses? Can you hear me? Okay. Tim, are you with us? Okay, well, we seem to have lost Tim as well. All right, guys, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to close up our blab on Tim's behalf. So we will be passing some links through. This blab the recording will be live, I believe, on Sunday. Tim is messaging us, and no, we can't hear you, Tim. That's okay, no worries. Thank you all who have joined us. I hope you found this really useful, and I hope that you have taken some strategies from this to be able to go on and start your edupreneurship journey, to not only start educating others and helping other people, create a lifestyle and a passive income from that, but also use these courses as a platform from which to grow your business, to take it to the next level. What we don't want you to do is to create all these wonderful courses and then leave them sat there. This needs to be part of a wider strategy for your sales, for your marketing, and for your ongoing business development. It really is a fundamental part of all of your holistic sales and marketing strategies. So I hope you found that useful. Please do follow me on Twitter at Cordiner Sarah, and I'll pop some links again below on the chat here that will take you to the discount links that I've passed on for the courses on how to become a go-to authority in your industry. We've got Tim back just as we're about to close. Yes, you're here.
Yay! Well, excellent. I was really hoping that I could get on. Sorry, we're not taking any more calls at the moment, but Sarah, I wanted to thank you in person for everything, and no doubt I will be in contact with you over the coming times, and no doubt be one of your students. And I'd like to thank everybody who came along and participated and joined us live. And I'd like to also thank my listeners who are going to be listening to this in the weeks, months, and years ahead. And I know that you're going to get so much out of it. So thank you so much, Sarah.
I wanted to give you a bit of a shout out as well there, Tim, because actually the way that I found Tim, and I encourage you guys to do the same, is actually when I was doing market research for my courses. And one of the things I do constantly, and I think it's vital, is you need to be making sure that you have industry currency in in your topic, which means you need to be listening to what other people are saying in your industry. And Tim, I came across your podcast when I was just doing some research on iTunes, and I was typing in online courses, curriculum development, and I was listening to your podcast, and honestly, it is absolutely incredible. And I was listening through, I downloaded them all, I listened to them in my car, I listened to them when I'm doing my housework around the house. So guys, like, if you're looking to build an online course, if you're looking at creating an online education type business, or create an income for yourself by putting information and knowledge out there, I'm going to do a massive shout out there for Tim's podcast, the ECourse Domination podcast, because it's absolutely world class. You've got some amazing guests on there, Tim, and do the same with your industry too. I simply reached out to Tim. I said, hey, I've just listened to your podcast. Freaking awesome. Can I be interviewed on it? And he said, yes, so here we are. So yeah, do that in your industry too. So
awesome.
Thanks, Tim. And I'm really glad I found you that way, because I think we've got a lot of work and a really nice future working together as well.
Absolutely, thanks. And it's great to find another Aussie and to actually do an interview Aussie time. I'm not working in East Coast, West Coast, US. We're East Coast, West Coast, Australia. So we're on the same continent, but about 6.5 hours plane flight away. So crazy. Okay, thanks, guys. Thanks, Sarah, once again. Thank you firstly for that wonderful shout out. I do appreciate that coming from somebody of your standing. Actually means a lot, and I do look forward to any opportunities working with you again on any project in the future. But yeah, thank you to everybody, and we will see you on Blab. And yeah, go to ECourseDomination.com and you'll find past episodes of the podcast, other information, lots of freebies and whatever. And we'll see you on an upcoming podcast.
Love it. Have a great one. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. See ya.
See ya.